Madagascar's rainforests are a flamboyant spectacle of life, a kaleidoscope of nature that some say is a paradise on earth. But could paradise's plunder soon be up for sale? Our investigation took us from pristine jungle to the financial heart of the world's biggest wildlife trafficking trade, even inside the Rosewood stockpiles themselves. We obtained rare access to a government compound where we filmed millions of dollars worth of banned rainforest trunks seized from gangs who tried to traffic them to China to be made into luxury furniture. But we now know the government wants to cash in too. It is applying to the wildlife regulator CITES to make a lawful sale of thousands of tons to China, the EU, the US and Japan. It says it will use the money to save the forests it has left. But one of the country's top forestry officials told us MPs have stockpiles. And worse, the majority of private stocks are owned by the traffickers themselves.
By phone or something like that, they threaten me by email or something like that.
He says it would be safer to destroy the seized trunks.
You don't know very well who are the dangerous people, so that it's like a mafia actions. Yeah. That is why I'm saying so that it's better to destroy it, because the mafia action is intervening in this cycle.
Such was the scale and ferocity of the Rosewood crisis 8 years ago that gangs set up makeshift camps near national parks. For the most part, they have since been stopped. But campaigners fear a government sale might reignite the logging all over again.
If the rosewood will be, let's say, gone, then they may change to other trees, and that would continue. We have to stop to export all those kinds of trees. We are blessed because we have nature. So I think it's time to protect what we have left, and then we can save for the next generation.
Look, the reality is that the Madagascar government has no control over the stockpile. What actually happens is if you let one piece out, and the next wood is illegally cut in the national park and brought into the stockpile. It's a laundering mechanism. So it cannot be sold right now. It will lead to an absolute logging boom. The proceeds will go to the very traffickers that need to have a consequence here.
And if the logging gangs return, authorities may not be able to stop them. Often, there seems to be little justice. He says we catch a few dozen offenders every year and we follow all the procedures and take them to court. I'm not saying they are paying, but it is really easy for them to simply leave. We bring in an offender, then on the same day he's out. I can't verify whether it's corruption, but it's suspicious. The people here see it and they think that's strange. And paradise could be lost. In less than 100 years, more than 40% of forests have gone. Many of the country's iconic lemurs are now critically endangered, and thousands of species found nowhere else on Earth are under intense pressure. MAROJEJY is the wild heart of Madagascar, a rainforest like no other. But deep in the jungle, the scars are still there. Armed loggers swarmed into this park, forcing the authorities to close it completely. And for every felled rosewood tree, they left a path of destruction through irreplaceable forest, stealing from the very people who depend on this. People like Franco, who grew up here.
So this is stump of the rosewood. It was very beautiful to see, but now we see just only the stump here. It's sad to see like this. If we have no forest, no rain, and the life is more difficult to live because we need the water, and no tourists to come here, and then we have no job. So that's why I want to protect this forest.
The government argues that only by selling seized timber can it afford its conservation plan. There are many local craftsmen who support them. In November, CITES must make recommendations on whether to allow a sale to go ahead. Millions of dollars could flow to the government or to the mafia, or perhaps both.